Vehicle preparation. Apply parking brake. Open the hood of the vehicle. Disconnect the negative battery cable. Prepare a protective surface to place all vehicle components on. Front door speaker installation. Remove door panels. Remove the A-pillar by pulling straight and away from door. Disengage any clips that remain in the door and return to the A-pillar panel. Disengage door locking tab. Use a panel tool to remove the window door lock control panel. Insert tool between the front edge of the panel of the trim to remove. Disconnect window door lock controls from the panel. Use a pick tool to remove the cover behind the interior door latch. Remove number 2 Phillips screw behind the door latch. Use a pick tool to remove the cover below grab handle and remove the number 2 Phillips screw behind the cover. Use panel tool to disengage the clips behind the door panel one at a time. Start at the bottom, then the sides, and finish at the top. Use gentle force to remove door panel. Disconnect the 6x9 speaker connector. Remove the 4 10mm bolts holding the factory 6x9 connector in place and remove speaker. Mount the 6x9 OEM Audio Plus speaker by using the 4 10mm bolts and reinstall the 6x9 speaker connector. Remove the 2 10mm bolts holding the factory speaker in place. Disengage clip holding side mirror control connector housing to speaker bracket. Disconnect factory dash speaker and remove. Position OEM Audio Plus 1-inch tweeter into position and reinstall door speaker connector. Reassemble door in reverse order, taking time to ensure all clips are engaged. Rear door speaker installation. Use a pick tool to remove the cover behind the interior door latch. Remove number 2 Phillips screw behind the door. Remove the number 2 screw in the door grab handle cavity. Lift grab handle straight up with gentle force to remove. Disengage door locking tab. Remove door pillar by prying away from door assembly. Disengage all clips that remain in the door and return to panel. Use the panel tool to remove the window control panel. Disconnect window control connector from the panel. Use gentle force to remove door panel. Start at the bottom, then the sides, and finish at the top. Disconnect the rear factory speaker connector. Remove the 3 10mm bolts holding the factory speaker in place and remove the speaker. Mount the 6.5 OEM Audio Plus 2-way coaxial speaker using the 3 10mm bolts and reinstall speaker connector. Reassemble door in reverse order, taking time to ensure all clips are engaged. Failure to securely reinstall door panel may result in rattles. Preparing the sub-umbilical run. Remove the driver's side rear threshold by pulling in an upward motion. Remove the driver's side front threshold. Loosen seatbelt trim weather stripping by hand, and remove carefully in an outward direction on both the front and rear passenger side thresholds. Remove the lower seatbelt mounting bolt cover and bolt. Disengage driver's side seatbelt trim panel by pulling directly towards you from the lower portion of the panel and working your way up, disengaging clips. Check for white snaps that may not have come off with the panel. Reinsert to panel if applicable. Subwoofer installation. Fold rear driver's side seat forward and remove hardware trim covers by pulling in an upward direction. Using a 14mm socket, remove the 2 14mm seat bolts securing the seat backrest in position. Remove seat backrest. Using a 10mm socket, remove the 3 10mm bolts securing the rear storage panel from behind the driver's side rear seat. Hold the panel and disengage the front and top snaps one at a time while simultaneously pulling the panel towards you. Remove the panel from the vehicle. Remove the weather stripping on the rear driver's side door to access the side rear panel. Apply pressure to the panel, pushing towards the passenger side to disengage the locking tabs. You'll need just enough room to run the sub-umbilical cable to the driver's side of the passenger side bench. Tuck the umbilical along the side rear panel using cable ties as necessary for a clean run. Continue to run the length of the wire alongside the driver's side threshold towards the front of the truck. Lock plastic clips after running the wire through. Once reaching the seat belt trim, lay the sub-umbilical cable connector down on the floor for the time being. Position the rear storage panel back in the vehicle, running the sub-connector through with 3 inches of slack remaining once the panel is in rested position. Reinstall rear storage panel, ensuring all clips are engaged and hardware. Connect sub-umbilical cable to the OEM Audio Plus subwoofer system. Slide sub-enclosure into panel cavity until it rests in place. Reinstall seat backrest and trim covers. Amplifier installation. Slide the driver's seat forward and remove the trim panels covering the seat bolts on the rear side of the seat. Trim tool. Using a 14mm socket with a 6-inch extension, remove the two rear 14mm seat bolts. Slide seat to the rear and remove the two front 14mm seat bolts. Disconnect the connectors underneath the seat and remove the cable mounting clip. These will need to be rearranged to accommodate amplifier mounting. Tilt the seat towards the rear of the vehicle. Install and position the provided speed clip so that it aligns with the two inner center holes on the under seat frame that the factory connectors utilize. Position amplifier assembly so the rear bracket hooks on the rear spring and front bracket arm rest on the under seat front frame. Position OEM Audio Plus amplifier bracket support into position and install provided 10mm bolts. Amplifier connector receptacles will face the driver's side of the vehicle. Finalizing subwoofer umbilical run. Continue to run the subwoofer umbilical alongside the factory threshold towards the driver's seat. Disengage and re-engage black plastic clips along the way. Zip tie as necessary. Unfasten the white plastic clips alongside the threshold area and lift carpet edge to expose cable route. Run the cable under the carpet and exit under the seat through the opening used by the existing factory wiring. Pull about 12 inches of slack. Reinstall the rear weather stripping, driver's side seat belt trim, and rear threshold panel. Quick sync wiring harness installation. Remove the dead pedal in the driver's side kick panel area and pull directly towards you. Remove the driver's side threshold and driver's side kick panel by unscrewing the black locking tab. Continue routing the quick sync wiring harness radio connectors and power wire towards the driver's side kick panel area. Use cable ties as necessary and leave wires in the kick panel floor area for the time being. Run the quick sync wiring harness amplifier connectors and ground under the carpet opening from the front driver's side threshold to the opening used by the factory wiring that connects under the seat. Leave about 6 to 10 inches of slack for the white, gray, and black connectors from the carpet opening. Locate the factory ground underneath the carpet and remove the 10mm ground bolt. Install the harness ground together with the factory ground and reinstall the 10mm bolt. Make sure the harness ground terminal rests on top of the factory ground terminal. You will be left with the white, gray, and black connectors of the quick sync wiring harness and the gray connector of the sub-umbilical. Run the quick sync wiring harness neatly and out of the way over the amplifier bracket. Plug the black 10-pin connector from the quick sync wiring harness into its designated receptacle on the sub-amplifier. Plug the white and gray 22-pin connector from the quick sync harness into the designated receptacles on the DSP amplifier. Plug the 6-pin gray connector from the sub cable into its designated receptacle on the sub-amplifier. Reposition factory under-the-seat connectors utilizing open slots on the under-seat frame. Reconnect connectors. Return seat back in place and confirm the seat bolt holes are lining up. Tighten the seat bolts by hand at first to ensure proper alignment. Radio removal. Lay down protective blanket over transmission area. Remove climate control's trim panel by inserting plastic trim tool to loosen the bottom edge and carefully pry away by hand. Disconnect the climate control connectors. Using a 10mm socket wrench, remove the 4 bolts holding the radio in place. Remove radio trim panel by inserting plastic trim tool to loosen the top edge and carefully pry away by hand. Disconnection of the hazard light connector is necessary for radio trim removal. Disconnect connectors and antenna lead. Remove radio and store. Quick sync wiring harness continued. Run radio side of the harness above the accelerator pedal and steering column towards the radio cavity. Run neatly and out of the way. Use cable ties as necessary. Route the harness towards the radio cavity until the connectors are visible. Connect the quick sync wiring harness into the radio and factory harness using the designated connectors. Reinstall radio, trim panels, and climate control in reverse order. Power wire installation. Under the hood of the driver's side, locate the grommet for the main factory wiring harness on the driver's side of the firewall directly above the factory wiring. Identify unused nipple and splice the tip to create an opening for the power wire. Under the dash area on the driver's side, lubricate the power wire and run through the grommet. Once enough slack is visible, pull the full length of the power wire through under the hood. You want just enough length to reach your battery. Cut any additional slack. Avoid interface with accelerator and brake pedals. Secure any wire slack to existing factory wiring. Use cable ties as necessary. Install supplied high-temperature corrugated split loom to cover the power wires and insulate against extreme temperature under the hood. Run power wires to the battery by following the direction of the factory wire and harness towards the battery. Use a wire stripper and strip 3/8 of an inch off of each power wire. Connect the power wires to the fuse holder by inserting the smaller 14-gauge strip power wire into the blue butt connector and crimp. Insert the larger 12-gauge strip power wire into the yellow butt connector and crimp. Apply heat to activate the solder and heat shrink insulator for the best connection possible. Installation of the fuse holder. Remove the 10mm bolt from your battery's positive terminal. Install the ring terminal of the fuse holder lead, then reinstall the 10mm bolt and tighten. Subsequently, install the fuses. Reconnect your battery and close the hood. This concludes the OEM Audio Plus Reference 400CF installation for the Toyota Tacoma Double Cab.